Hello again. Chris Lee, Blake Lovell, Max Barr of Southeastern 16 here to preview, hopefully, my internet willing, 3 games on Wednesday night between Alabama, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Arkansas, A&M, and Oklahoma. Max Barr, start with you. Off the top, Alabama travels to Colonial Life Arena to face the South Carolina Gamecocks. Alabama, a big winner over Oklahoma in its SEC opener. South Carolina got drilled at Mississippi State. This one, though, on Father Lamont Paris's territory. What are you thinking about this matchup? I think we're looking at Alabama's about an 8-point road favorite, according to Ken Palm. No line yet, but I think it'll be close to that.
Yeah, somewhere flirting around 10, somewhere around there for 10-point favorite for Alabama, I bet, somewhere around there. No doubt about it, guys. Alabama, the better basketball team so far. But life on the road in the SEC is very tough. And let's find some ways that potentially this could be a game. And right off the bat, thing that jumps out to me, South Carolina, 10th nationally in free throw rate. They are getting to the line a lot, and we haven't really been talking about them all that much in terms of their free throw and free throw rate. I guess that's exactly what you want to call it. That's their best stat of anything. Offense, defense, whatever stat you want to look at. The amount of times they're getting to the free throw line offensively is the best thing South Carolina does. And hey, at home against a team that defends pretty aggressively, that could play into your favor if you're a Gamecocks fan.
You guys like the matchups. I like the history. And boy, what an interesting history we have between the Tide and the Gamecocks. You want to know why? Because Alabama has won 9 straight games in this series. 9 straight. That's a lot in a series. However, let me read you the scores, even beyond just 9 games here. Let me read you the scores of the most recent times these two teams have played in Columbia, South Carolina. 2023, Alabama won 78-76 in overtime. 2021, Alabama won 81-78. 2019, Alabama won 68-62. 2017, Alabama won 90-86. 2016, Alabama lost by 14. 2015, Alabama lost by 2, 68-66. 2014, Alabama lost by 1, 67-66. 2012, Alabama lost by 2, 56-54. Do you see the trend here? These two teams have pretty much, like the last 10 meetings or so, have played games that have been decided by like 6 or like to the extreme of like 3 points or fewer. All these games seem to be really close between these teams, except for an occasional outlier, especially when they're played in this building. Now, I know Alabama has had a varying degree of teams throughout that stretch, so has South Carolina. But I think that's something interesting here. Just worth noting, could this be one of those teams that the series history tells us these two are going to play a close game there on Wednesday?
Yeah, and look, South Carolina just got humiliated at Humphrey Coliseum. I know that we think that this is a roster that maybe lags some of the others in the league, particularly in the backcourt, but Lamont Paris is a terrific coach. I have a feeling that he'll have their attention after what happened on Saturday.
Also, it is, I don't know if you want to call it a revenge game or whatever, but Nick Pringle facing his old team from last year. So you can bet that in South Carolina practice all week, they've got a little bit of an insider knowledge maybe. So maybe the defense is a little bit more prepared than usual. Who knows? This is a South Carolina defense that does not let you get off many threes. All right. They're 11th in the nation and fewest 3-point attempts for the opponents. So they really do not let you get them off. And honestly, it's kind of weird. Alabama's 11th in the nation in offensive 3-point rate. So 11th in the nation. One team's shooting them. One team's not letting you shoot them. Who's going to win that battle? Probably will have a big impact on this game.
Looking at it from where, go ahead, Blake.
No, I was just going to add, I mean, we talked about Alabama's shooting numbers this year. And if you look at the games, I mean, the game at Purdue, right? They shot 31% from three. Neutral court game against Houston, they shot 36.7%. Rutgers 40% or not? Yeah, Rutgers 40%. The game against Oregon, they shot 31.6%, 36.4% at North Carolina, 32.4% at North Dakota. So you kind of have a little bit of those ups and downs, but those are not the overwhelmingly just shooting profiles, right, of a top tier shooting team. And as we've said, Alabama's not been that this season, just in terms of the percentages, 31.6% on the season. So that is one way too. I think if you look at it from that perspective, the numbers do kind of tell us that Alabama may struggle a little bit here in a matchup like this on the road, at least on paper, just because that's what they want to do. But at the same time, we also know that Alabama is just, shooting a ridiculous percentage from two at 63%. So even if the shots aren't falling from three, how much can they get inside the arc? That's obviously going to be the big story too, and getting to the free throw line as well is a big one.
I look at when a team is, I wouldn't say prohibitive favorite. It's probably going to be 8 or 10 points, but a decisive favorite, I guess is a good way to put it. Like, where's the pink and the red ink on the KenPom profile? For Alabama, it is in forcing turnovers. They don't really force a lot of those. South Carolina just kind of middle of the road in terms of turning it over offensively. So that's one thing. Alabama's not a tremendous defensive rebounding team. So I think extra possessions are a thing maybe that, or maybe keeping possession, not losing possession. I don't know how to say it, but the possession game, when you're not a great shooting team like you are South Carolina, maybe there's a little bit of an area there to take advantage of what Alabama's not as great at.
Ready to get into picks?
Let's do it.
Yep.
Before we get into picks, Blake, if someone were to make a bet on this game, where would they go?
Well, they go to Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform, and my browser, very trusted right now as I pull up the read here. Bet Online, tremendous people they are. Are they there because they continue to be the world's most trusted betting platform, as I said. Got that part right. Your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC. BetOnline, the number one sports betting source for the new year, from touchdowns to three-pointers and everything in between. BetOnline has you covered on every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here.
Picks. I really believe that the game a few weeks ago up in North Dakota, that was the last road game for Alabama. Slept walk through that thing, only won by 7. Obviously, it was the crazy game by Eagle staff, but I think just having that game, that being your last road game, not really, being your best performance, I bet Nate Oates all week in practice is reminding him of that. Hey, we're going on the road. Remember what happened last time we went on the road and we didn't take the team seriously. We only snuck out of there by 7. I think they're going to be focused. I think they're going to be confident. Chris Youngblood's getting going. Big Cliff had a good game. I think the whistle is going to be a big factor in this game. I bet you get a lot of Colin Murray-Boyle's free throws, maybe even a little bit of Zach Davis free throws. But I just think over the course of the game, too much from the outside. I'm going to go Alabama.
Max, I'm going to take that North Dakota game and go in an opposite direction of it. There's times that, and look, to be fair, Alabama is not a fully formed team yet, right? You've had the injuries, you've had the, all kinds of roster turnover's not the right word, but with guys coming and going, it's not a team it's cohesive yet. Sears hasn't always been his best, but I look at them and you go back to November 8th, the opener to Arkansas State. I know that's a good team. I think beat Memphis. I think Alabama sometimes has played its best ball. Beat North Carolina on the road, came back at home and struggled to be a Creighton team that's not as good. I've seen a little bit of unevenness in performances following the game where the level of opponent Alabama plays drops off a little bit. And I know you've got a very focused, I think, South Carolina team with Lamont Paris. Blake pointed out the series history. I think Alabama wins, but if this is a at anybody's ball game headed in the last 5 minutes. I wouldn't be surprised. I think you've got two teams that are due to bounce back. I don't think Alabama could possibly, well, it can actually play better than it did against Oklahoma. But I think things will kind of go to the middle a little bit more. I think Carolina will have a bounce back at home. I think Alabama is not going to be as awesome as it was at home against Oklahoma the other night. I think they win, but I think this one could be close.
Well, I think you'll get a lot of free throws in this game, just based on the fact that I think of how the game will be played, even though Alabama's going to shoot threes. We know that. But I do feel like there'll be a lot of plays kind of at the rim here. And if you're looking for percentages on that, neither one of these teams shoot it great from free throw line, 70.7% for Alabama, 69.2% for South Carolina. That's sub 215-ish for both teams nationally, I think. So just something of note, if it kind of gets to there, and could you get a closer game? Maybe, if it turns into that. But I don't know. I mean, look, everybody's going to go into this game doubting Father Lamont Paris and the South Carolina Gamecocks, right? Everybody's doubting them. They just got blown out by 35. Everybody in the world picking against South Carolina in this game, even though the series history tells you that the Gamecocks have made this interesting time and time again in this matchup. 7 p.m. Eastern, the SEC Network, Colonial Life Arena, Columbia, South Carolina. You two guys said, you know what? I'm going with the layup. I'm picking the Alabama Crimson Tide because they're the number 5 team in the country.
Oh, don't do it.
All right? They're the number 5 team in the country. And you said, I'm going with the layup. Sometimes, folks, you got to go with what you think is the right choice. And in this game, I am picking the Alabama Crimson Tide to beat South Carolina on the road in Columbia. Give me the Tide on the road in this one. Maybe closer than the experts think, but no one's ever called us experts. So, hey, give me Alabama. So
that is known as the Southeastern 16 kiss of death. You are welcome, Nate Oates. All right. Also at
South
6
Carolina
Central.
fans know what's up. They know
what's up. Also at 6 Central. That one was on the SEC Network. This one is on ESPN2 in Bud Walton Arena. Boy, speaking of teams looking for a bounce back, Arkansas didn't look so hot in Food City Center. That happens to a lot of teams, though. Ole Miss comes off a home win over Georgia. Pretty good performance. Let's see what Ken Palm's got this one at. I'm going to guess Arkansas will be a slight favorite here, maybe 4 or 5 points. Arkansas is a 2-point favorite over Ole Miss, according to Ken Palm. Don't have the line yet. Max Barr, start us off. The line will probably settle in that territory, I presume.
Arkansas by a basket, I would call it.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. I think this is almost a bounce back for both teams. I don't think Ole Miss is walking away from a 63-point performance and really feeling fantastic about that offense. Good defensive performance. You're starting to see the Chris Beard, Mark Adams defense come out in some games, disappears in others. Good defensive performance, not the best offense. So I don't really think there's a huge Ole Miss is just skipping around, riding high, and Arkansas here is just chomping at the bit to get a piece of them. I think both teams are going to be pretty focused and try to correct a lot of the mistakes from the opening weekend. When you look at the matchup, though, the thing that just absolutely right away jumps off the page at me is got to be Ole Miss's ability to take care of the ball, and then how on the other side Arkansas's maybe lack of ability against an Ole Miss defense that forces a lot of turnovers. I think the guard play, guys, in this one is going to really dictate the tempo. It's going to dictate who's in control of this one. Padula against Boogie, or if it's Juju against Boogie, whatever matchup it is, I'm really interested to see how the backcourt plays out.
Yeah, I mean, a John Calipari offense versus a Chris Beard defense. I mean, what could go wrong here with that setup? But I've already seen people using that exact phrase, and I think that's what's going to be most interesting to me, is to see you have a guy that, as we said, Arkansas has left a lot to be desired offensively. Look what they just did at Tennessee. Ole Miss, a different team. We don't think this is quite that vintage Chris Beard defense just yet, but they're pretty dang good. And so I want to see how Arkansas approaches it, seeing how Ole Miss defends them, right? And I think that's the big story here, because that's been the knock, as we said, on Cal. And to see in the half court what happens, right? Like, how do you kind of play this game, even though we know that Arkansas, I think, to be at their best, like, they want to get the ball to Boogie Flan, get out and go, and try to get some easy baskets. And so to me, that's the story. I want to see that matchup more than anything. The coaching matchup here of what Arkansas is going to do offensively to counter what we know Chris Beard teams do well on the defensive side, which, of course, is going to be force some turnovers, make things a little hectic for you in terms of how you try to do your half-court offense or in transition. I think that's the biggest key to the game here, is which side does a better job with the game plan, and which side does a better job adjusting to whatever the other's kind of throwing at them.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of this one. I'm back to the same place I've been with Arkansas for a while. The talent is there. It just always leaves you wanting a little bit more every time we watch them. And that said, they played well at times. They beat Michigan. You've seen little spurts where DJ Wagner does some things. I guess my concern, if I'm Arkansas, is Ole Miss has got old guards in a lot of them. And I'm wondering what kind of factor that plays here.
Yeah, and Ole Miss is probably the toughest team to get a read on so far in the entire SEC, because even when you try to look at, like, okay, well, how have they performed on the road so far? Well, they've played 2 true road games. They played at Louisville, that rockin' Louisville. There's a lot of fans there, and they crushed them. They won 86-63. And then in their second true road game, they go into Memphis and they get crushed 87-70. So it's basically a complete 180 on their 2 road performances. Hasn't been much consistency. So there's really nothing to pull on there. If you want to look at Arkansas, haven't lost at home, but also they're the best team that they've played at home is Lipscomb to open the year. So they haven't really been challenged at home. So guys, to back you up, Chris, where, kind of not knowing where to go with this one, there's really no trend home or away for either of these teams that we can pull on in this matchup.
I've got my pick, so let's make picks.
Max.
All right. Yep. As always, I will go first, and I will be confident in this one. I went 0-2 on my confident picks last week. So anytime you hear me say I'm confident, get nervous. Arkansas.
Lead pipe lock of the week here.
Arkansas and more Arkansas in this
one.
I like the bounce back.
Oh, man.
I love it. I love it a lot. This is an Arkansas defense that doesn't foul. They're not going to put Ole Miss on the line, and they block a ton of shots. It's going to be hard for Ole Miss to get anything easy down low. Give me the Razorbacks to bounce back here. Easy win for Arkansas.
Give me Arkansas.
Wow.
That's more of a question than a prediction.
Nope, confidence over here.
And also because it puts our man on the spot.
Not anymore. Here's the deal, all right? Series history between these two teams. I don't really have much for you on this one. Arkansas got walloped last year in Oxford, 77-51. Before that, though, they'd won like 5 straight in the series. They've kind of dominated the series a little bit, even though some of these games have been close, for sure, over the past 7-8 years or so. But I heard something in your guys' voice, and it's a word that can describe it. All right, except for maybe Max. I heard a little more confidence from Max, but definitely from Chris, I heard a little doubt. I heard a little doubt in Chris's mind. Unfortunately, Chris forgot the golden rule. Actually, I think he got it right, but he just didn't allude to it before he made his pick. When in doubt, pick the home team. I'm in doubt on this game. I'm picking the home team, Arkansas. It's as simple as that. I don't have much more to go on. I think these two teams are pretty evenly matched, and when in doubt, pick the home team. Give me the Hogs.
That's 2 sweeps in a row.
Oh, boy.
The nightcap, which will be nice. You get to see this one without having to watch 2 games at once. Texas A&M visits Oklahoma. The Aggies have just been red hot from December on. Oklahoma got its first loss of the season. This one in the Lloyd Noble Center. Again, 8 Central on the SEC Network. Max Barr, our resident Texas A&M expert, start us off here.
This is a fantastic matchup. I love the way these two teams match up stylistically. Probably going to be even money. I don't know. I'm thinking pick 'em. I'm thinking dead even 50-50. I don't really think any one team's going to be favored. I would be very surprised if any team's past 3 either way. When you look at the matchup, I mean, it is a stark contrast. A&M, the number 1 offensive rebounding team in the nation. Oklahoma's 304th in defensive rebounding. A&M might have 25 plus offensive rebounds. I would not be surprised. And the reason why is because A&M's the 280th team in the nation in 3-point percentage, and Oklahoma defensively is the 5th. They're top 5 3-point perimeter defense. It's because they got those big guards. And Porter Moser's defense has always had a type of perimeter pressure like that. So when you just look at A&M's offense versus Oklahoma's defense, it's just a clash against a team that's not going to give you clean looks, and then a team that's going to try to crash the O boards. This is a really interesting matchup, guys.
Yeah, I think the over-under here of 20 on the Texas A&M offensive rebounds, I'm flirting with the over here on this one. This feels like one of those games where it's a road game. Maybe your shots aren't falling as they usually do. It's not, although as we've said, it's not like A&M shooting necessarily a high percentage in any area right now, but they're just cleaning them up so well that I think this will be another kind of case here. Like you said, these are going to be 2 teams getting to the free throw line. We can always joke about A&M games, how long are they going to last? Surprisingly, Texas A&M and Texas didn't last that long. I think this is the opposite. This is a late game on Wednesday night. The late games always decide to go until the next day, seemingly sometimes in these kind of matchups. I just feel like this is going to be a matter of who stays out of foul trouble, and that may be the name of the game. Like, really, it's just which team is able to keep key players out of foul trouble because they both do such a good job, I think, of being able to try to find ways to get easy points at the free throw line. And like you said, Max, there's a clash in a lot of these different sort of statistical areas. And so it makes this one kind of hard to handicap, I think.
Max, does Phelps get the assignment defensively on Fears, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, that's a big thing. Phelps has got a defensive rating at College Basketball Reference of 87.7. That is elite. That might be better than Zakai Ziegler elite. If not, it's close. That to me is a big key. And Blake mentioned fouling. I was thinking of that too. Phelps mostly plays without fouling. He's getting charged with, 3.2 fouls per 40 possessions. Not sure he's fouled out yet. Going to look at the game log. He is not. He had a run where he got 4 fouls for 4 games in a row back in November. Since then has not picked up more than 2 in a game. The rebounding thing is the thing that catches your eye easily. But I think if Oklahoma's going to win, which this is basically a toss-up of a game, I think Fears carries a lot of their hopes, and I think A&M might have a guy to deal with that.
That's a great point. Yeah. Phelps and Payne as well, Farrell Payne, have been a kind of a 2-man just boost to that defense up, top 10, whatever analytics site you want to look at. But the thing that's kind of catching my eye also, and I think, Blake, you made me think of it, there's going to be a lot of free throws in this game. There's going to be a lot. A&M, they shoot 70.2% as a team. That's 230th nationally. Oklahoma, they shoot 80.9% from the free throw line. That's 6th in the country. That is over a 10% team difference. If this thing comes down to free throws, it's clear as day what team I trust more to make those down the stretch. That's Oklahoma.
All right.
Shall we get to picks?
Oh, man. I was confident in the last pick. The opposite for this pick. I think you're going to get an A&M team that doesn't make many threes on the road here. I love this Porter Moser perimeter defense, but it's an Oklahoma team that just let up 22 offensive rebounds to Alabama. So you're clashing there. I have no confidence in this pick, but when in doubt, you go with your team, and I'm going with the Aggies.
I knew he was going to do that.
Come on.
He's doing it. Okay, does A&M have some issues? Yes, they are also baked into the performance. A&M is not a good three-point shooting team. Oklahoma is a stellar three-point shooting team. That's a defensive team. I don't know if that's going to be much of a factor because A&M doesn't shoot it anyway. A&M's got a little bad luck. You talked about free throw shooting. Teams shoot 75% against A&M. Oklahoma shoots 81%. A&M's been dealing with teams that shoot free throws above what you should shoot all year. It's lost 2 games. A&M has only played one true road game. That was at UCF in the opener. I feel like this is a much better team. Look, I picked A&M to win the league last year. That was maybe a year ahead, but it's got a lot of the same players. I don't think they're going to win the league this year, but that points to a lot of trust. And I feel like this is a tough team. I think the possessions are going to be a killer. The offensive rebounding. Give me the Aggies because I think they have tested themselves with the schedule. And that's not a shot at Oklahoma at all. I just think this is a really good veteran team, and it will be prepared for the spot. You're always going to be a little nervous picking against a home team in a toss-up of a game, but I'll take my shot.
All right. Well, both of you picking the Aggies on the road here. What could go wrong with that thoughts, given the 132-3 stat that holds as we record this and may not hold depending on Tuesday's outcome in those games. But Chris said he may have been a little bit of a year early on the Aggies. Keep in mind, Texas A&M last year on the road in the SEC at times was downright not good. And it's a different year, different team. I think they've been tested more this season, as Chris noted. So I think that's the difference. You know, I was looking at the player comps for our guy Jeremiah Fears, and one of the ones that stood out I thought was fantastic and one that could actually play a big role in this game. Jalen Suggs, Gonzaga. What a comp that is by our friend Mr. Kinpom.
Mr. Big Shot.
Because, I mean, this guy has been so good to this point. He's had a lot of big shots, and I think this is one where, as we say, when in doubt, pick the home team. But I also have to look out for my picks standings in the Southeastern 16, pick-a-thon here this season. And because I don't want to lose ground in my current lead, I'm also going to pick Texas A&M on the road here. But keep in mind, if there's the ultimate Southeastern 16 kiss of death, it's all 3 of us picking what may be a 1 or 2 point favorite on the road in a league where home teams dominate. So if we all look back and realize we made the wrong pick here, the numbers told us that we're complete idiots. But we're all picking the Aggies.
We just did that for all 3 road teams. We did.
I know, and I feel like we did it a lot in the Tuesday games too. Blake and I were 8-0 last week, and you were 7-1. How many?
6-2.
You were 6-2.
Florida wrong, and I had LSU wrong also. I had 2 wrong.
Okay, so I don't know how many times we went against each other this midweek, but
I'll gain ground on Chris at some point here in the standings. But for now,
okay,
it's early, and I've decided to play it conservative a little bit early, but I'll also go with the Aggies in this spot. So
there you have
that, Max.
Yep.
Don't be surprised if there's 75 free throws in this game.
No, that would not surprise anyone. Oh man! All right, well, can't wait to watch them. All the games this year are worth watching. That's the league we cover. We cover it wall to wall. We love it. If you love it as much as we do, hit the subscribe button, enable your notifications. We're working on baseball content as we speak to have some of that ready to roll out before the season starts. Still following the college football playoff. We are your one-stop shop for SEC sports coverage in football, men's basketball, baseball. For Max Barr and Blake Lovell, I'm your host, Chris Lee. God bless you. Have a good day. You've been watching Southeastern 16 presented by BetOnline.